Hello everyone, my name's Roselle and welcome to the video where I talk about how and why the movie The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, starring Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal, was made for me. So this isn't really a movie review, it's more like another video where I talk about myself. So I just want to start off by giving you a little bit of background and explain my relationship with Nicolas Cage. So I grew up in the early 2000s, which at that point Nick had already starred in a plethora of movies, but the first one I remember seeing him in was National Treasures. I was only 4 when that movie came out, so I probably watched it when I was 6 or 7 with my dad in preparation for the second National Treasures movie, Book of Secrets, which came out in 2007. And earlier in the same year was the first Ghost Rider movie, which I thought was the coolest, toughest shit. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still really like the movies now. But just going down the list, there was The Knowing in 2009, The Sorcerer's Apprentice in 2010, and the second Ghost Rider movie in 2011. Now, I've watched other movies with him in them, but these are the ones that stick out to me when I think of classic childhood Nick Cage movies. They make me feel good and nostalgic, and I think part of it has to do with the fact that every time I watched a Nick Cage movie, it was with my dad, so we would get some quality father-daughter time watching these movies. Sadly, the last Nick movie I'd watch until I want to say 2019 was Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, since my dad moved away in 2013, so that was kind of the end for a while. But his influence didn't end there, thanks to the internet. So you could say he stuck with me in different ways through the following years. So in 2019, when I watched Vampire's Kiss in my boyfriend's college dorm, it was an appreciation of Nick for being an icon, a legend, a meme, but most importantly, a part of our childhoods. Long story short, I love Nicolas Cage. He's weird, he's quirky, and he's given me many a fond memory. He reminds me of good times with my dad. He is my dad. Hopefully that explained my history with Nick just a little bit, because now I'm going to move on to my relationship with Pedro Pascal. So our history, unfortunately, does not go back as far as mine and Nick's does, but the passion burns brighter. The order of when I first saw him is a little different, a little confusing, so I'm going to start with when I first fell in love. Let me paint it for you. It's 2021. The last episode of Season 2 of The Mandalorian aired in December of 2020, but I didn't know that. I didn't care. All I knew was that it was popular right now, but I wasn't interested. So there I am, visiting my dad, and he's casually watching episode 7 of the second season, and I'm just there spending time with him because, again, I don't care. I'm not gonna watch it. And then this scene plays.
System shutdown. 10, 9.
And that was the first time I saw him. Like, I'd seen him in film and media before that, but that was the first time I saw him. You could say it was love at first sight. So long story short, I end up watching The Mandalorian and I'm Googling him and I'm shocked. I feel horrible. I feel like a fake fan because I realized he was in all these other things, and this one show where he shows his face 3 times is when I become obsessed. The first thing I would have ever seen him in was 2016's The Great Wall, which I'll give myself a pass for because that movie's just weird. It's a weird movie. I don't think I finished it all, and he's a secondary character. But the rest I don't get a pass for, like 2017's Kingsman: The Golden Circle. I love that movie, and I love his character. But the one that really gets me is Narcos. It came out in 2015, ended in 2017, but I watched it in 2019, which coincidentally would be the same year I would watch a Nicolas Cage movie for the first time in like 8 years. Now, I will say I was watching it because of my niece who was watching it, so I jumped in towards the end of season 1, watched all of season 2, but then stopped after, spoiler alert, Pablo Escobar dies. So I didn't watch season 3 where Pedro's allegedly the lead. So anyways, blah blah blah, he takes his helmet off, and I'm struck with a Pedro fever that leaves a Pedro-shaped hole in my Pedro-shaped heart. And then comes The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent in 2022, just for me. A movie starring Dad and Daddy. So the movie is directed by Tom Gormican, which is someone I'm not personally familiar with, but Nicolas Cage is listed as one of the producers, so for the sake of this video, Nick made this entire movie. And now I will go through the movie and point out the parts that he put in there for me. But real quick, for those who haven't seen the movie yet, I'm going to explain the premise real quick and sum it up since I'm just here to point out the parts I liked. So basically, it's a character-driven, adult drama comedy that slowly turns into a more thrilling action piece. So it begins with the kidnapping of a daughter of an anti-crime politician, but that's important for later, so it switches to a struggling Nick. He's struggling with his job, money, and family. He gets a gig for $1 million to go to a guy's birthday party, and he plans to do it, get the money, and retire. So he goes and starts to build a relationship with the guy, but the CIA, yeah I know, thinks this guy's the head of a crime organization that kidnapped the girl, so now he has to spy for the CIA while still developing a relationship and now a movie with this guy. Turns out, the bad guy's his cousin, and the cousin tells Javi he has to kill Nick to show his loyalty, basically, and they show down, but they love each other, so they can't, and now they're being chased by bad guys who were sent to finish the job, and then they gotta save the kidnapped girl, and also Nick's daughter, because she got taken too, and then they save them, basically. So the movie starts off with the end of Con Air, a classic Nick movie, and specifically a movie that's referenced a lot in an early 2000s webcomic that would shape my whole character in middle school and early high school. So that was put in there as an homage to that. Then there's the introduction of Nicky, a younger version of himself from the Warden show. Now, I didn't know that personally, but I love the inclusion because it's funny and it reminds me of Nick in Vampire's Kiss because he's in his 20s in both of those. The movie continues and we meet Nick's manager Robert, who's played by Neil Patrick Harris. Which, you know, I love his work as much as the next guy. He's a classic actor and I love seeing him cameo. But I note him specifically because I love puzzles and escape boxes, and he actually has a really good one called Box 1 that I solved only like a month or two before I watched this movie. So not sponsored obviously, but you should check it out if you're into that stuff. Then the movie goes on, I'm loving every bit of it, loving the bromance, and then boom, Nick on Nick action. I don't even know how to begin to explain why this is perfect for me, but that was definitely put in there for me. And then right after that, the CIA kidnaps Nick and guilt trips him into spying for them. And I love spy movies, so you know, another thing. This scene where he has to sneak into this data room to collect data and he accidentally drugs himself and basically almost dies is just so funny. I've watched this like 4 times now at this point and it makes me laugh every time. Movie goes on, wham! LSD scene. Now, I've never done LSD or anything like that, but drug scenes in movies are just good. They're almost always funny, and if it's not, a lot of times they're very cinematic scenes. But in this case, it's funny, and they're getting meta within the movie and the script writing, and the bromance is cooking. And then, the Nick Cage room. Now, all of this is fine and dandy, but it's the small focus on this Nick pillow that was like, wow, that's a little on the nose. He knows I've been wanting that for a long time now, and it's a meme, so seeing him acknowledge it was like... After that, the end of the movie comes by pretty quickly as they develop the action. They both think they're things they're not, but they go out to take care of it, and this shoe scene is cute. But them professing their love for each other as they hold each other at gunpoint? But yeah, as I said before, they save the girls, and the end of the movie fades out into an audience that's actually the premiere of the movie they were writing. So it's like the movie we were watching was the movie they wrote, give or take. And I just love that little twist. Not that it was a big surprise twist, because throughout the whole movie they're describing what they might want in their movie, and what they're describing is what's happening. I just really like that level they were playing with. I mean, obviously they made a movie where Nick Cage plays Nick Cage. So yeah, that's basically it. I love the movie, I watched it in theaters, and I even got to watch it later with my dad. My real dad. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video in the first place because, all jokes aside, there's been a handful of times that media or other various things have come out that seem to be almost perfectly tailored for me. Like, for example, this movie with 2 of my favorite actors, or a music festival with 2 of my favorite bands, or one of my favorite YouTubers making a lore video about one of my favorite games. And obviously I know I'm not the only one to like these things, or they probably wouldn't be made, but it's just so nice to see 2 things I love in one place. Like a little gift from the universe. It's the little things like that that make life suck a little less. So I invite everyone who's watching to this point to join in the delusion and write in the comments something that you felt was a gift from the universe. Something you didn't necessarily ask for, but you saw or got anyways, and it felt eerily tailored to your likes. I'll actually go first because it happened again with the release of Renfield, a vampire movie starring Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult. 3 things I love, 1 movie. which also coincidentally has its theatrical release today, April 14th, which also happens to be my 6-year, 6-month anniversary. I can't make this shit up. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. It's all for fun, so don't come at me calling me crazy because even though I am, I'm not. Now if you'll excuse me, I've got a vampire movie to catch.